So you can probably see where I'm going with this, and today I'm going to review the Sirui 50mm f1.8 anamorphic lens. This here is the Ontario Rat, and let's get into it. So how do I want to do this? Maybe just... I've never seen this lens in person. I've seen a fair amount of videos about it, but I've never actually seen it in the wild, as it were. So you're getting to see this at the same time as me. This is the retail packaging, and I want to make that clear because there's been some videos out there of this lens, and there've been videos essentially of the Kickstarter / I guess early releases, engineering copies or whatever. So this is the actual retail packaging. And we have in here accessories. What kind of accessories, I wonder, are they actually going to give you with a lens? But let's see. I'll switch to the top down, and you can see we have, oh, well, that's kind of nice. Actually give you this nice little branded Sirui bag, or pouch for your lens. You get a qualified, so I guess this is to say it passed QC, which is good. And then we have a little manual. I don't know just how much manual you need for a lens of this type, but it's pretty simple, I think, manual lens, but it's nice. I mean, it's pretty decent, very professional, I think. And they put these little patty things here, I guess, to protect the lens underneath. And I'm going to put these out of the way. And this then is going to be the lens itself. So here we go. We can see that it's, oh, that's nice packaging. I mean, I think they did a pretty nice job on the packaging, actually. Looks kind of well made. So I'll put that aside. Here's the thing you all came for. And look at this. This is actually vacuum sealed inside this little pouch. So that's also nice. And oh, before I forget, all of this is live. So, well, live as I record it. So I'm sorry about that. Kind of get a little more light on the situation for my overhead. And maybe you can see a little bit more. So there you go. It's all vacuum sealed, and I think that's pretty nice. I'm gonna, oops, cut that. And we can get in here and see what we have. And what we have is, ooh, well, that feels pretty nice. I mean, it feels pretty well made, and you can look at here. There's nice branding, the nice little blue line, I guess a styling accent. And there it is, genuine anamorphic element. And it's threaded. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually threaded in here, which is, I think, a very good thing. So, and here we have, this is the micro 4/3 variety. I really am liking the feel of this lens. Now, why did I get this? I mean, I have lenses already. Obviously, all of these cameras have them. Why did I get this particular lens? And the reason for me why I wanted this lens, I'm going to put this little silica gel. The reason why I got this particular lens is one very good reason, and that reason would be I currently use an anamorphic adapter. It's over there, and it's made by a company called SLR Magic. And to me, it's okay. I mean, I'll flip to it here. I don't think it's bad, but I'm connected to a lens which is an autofocus lens. And every time I turn this camera on, I have to go over to it, and I find myself having to constantly readjust the focus, which is a pain in the neck. The main lens here is also autofocus lens, but it has an ability to push forward the focus ring, and it essentially turns it into a manual focus lens, and it holds focus all the time. They are not in the same league, these two lenses, this one being much better, and this one being a cheaper variety, but with the anamorphic adapter. I think that the lens by itself is probably respectable. and fairly fast at f1.8. But with the anamorphic adapter, it definitely, to my eyes at least, degrades the quality of the lens. So I'm hoping that this lens here will be able to replace the lens over here and therefore give a very nice anamorphic effect. And at the same time, not really so much shrink the package, maybe a little bit shrink the package, but more than anything, I'm hoping that this lens is going to perform a little bit better. And here's the thing I'm not sure about. That is, I think, a 42mm, and this is a 50, but that's adapted. So my question is this going to be wider than that? Or is it going to be about the same? Or is it going to be a little narrower? And I know that some people have been putting these adapters on this to make this wider. And I hate those adapters. All the ones I've seen for this lens have made it go from a fairly sharp, fairly crisp lens into, frankly, something that is very distorted and, to my eyes at least, doesn't look very good. So I want to try this out. I'm going to switch this. I'm going to switch this right now. So I'm going to pause and then I'll come back and it will be switched. Okay, so before I switch these, I wanted to show you the difference. So these are the two lenses, and this one is an adapted lens. So you can see here there's an Olympus lens essentially attached to this lens, which is the SLR Magic anamorphic adapter. I think they call it the Anamorphic. So I'm gonna switch this so you can see a top-down view. This then is the Anamorphic versus the Sirui, if I'm saying that right. And you can see that this is actually, I think, a little bit wider in circumference. This entire package, though, is a little bit shorter. So maybe I'm gaining a little size by actually switching to this. But I hope really more than anything that I'm gaining some quality, because like I said, adapted lenses are all well and good, and maybe if you start off with a lens which is pristine in the first place, it looks better. But this lens by itself, while it's a 45mm, by itself doesn't look bad at all. But adapted with this, which I don't think that SLR Magic really does the best job on glass. I know some people like them. This I think I paid like $500 for a few years ago, and it's not bad. I've used it. It does make for a very small profile, which is for me what the attraction was. And you can use it in some unusual places. This can be adapted to be used on even cell phones, provided you have the right. This here is a step-up ring. So provided you have the right one of these, you can use it and adapt some very interesting lenses. But I'm still intrigued by this, and I'm really hoping it works out, because I think it'll be awesome if it does. So now I'm going to switch them for real, and I'll be back. So I'm back, and this now is the Sirui 50mm f1.8, but I'm not filming this at f1.8 because in this environment, f1.8 is going to be way too quick, because the lens I have over here is actually at maximum aperture, well, minimum aperture is f2.8. So in order to get the colors right, I'm having to run the Sirui at f2.8 to match. But that said, oh my goodness, this thing is, well, to my eyes, quite a bit sharper. It makes me feel that this maybe is going to be retired, because, and I'm not going to say 100%, because there is the flexibility. Watch this. Like I said, you can just unscrew this and you have a little lens here, and then you have this that you can essentially use wherever you want to use it. But, and I'll go to the top down, in spite of the size of this, I mean, this I think I'm just going to find a use to maybe it'll just make for the camera to be really, really small and versatile. So who knows, maybe that will replace my current overhead lens, and I'll just switch to this, because I seldom use the zoom. That's his tiny little zoom lens up there, and it is particularly slow. It's a f4, I think, which isn't great. So I'm always struggling in scenes like this with the lighting, but maybe I'll switch this up there. And maybe this will just find use for specialty things, because honestly, this Sirui is, I think, markedly better than what I can expect to get out of the SLR Magic. So if you're in the market and you're thinking about should you get the Sirui, I'll caution you. It feels to me to be about the same field of view as this, well, this 42mm with the adapter. It feels, maybe it's a tiny bit wider. Am I imagining things? I might cut back and forth between some footage of me with the other one, with this setup, and with the Sirui, so you can judge it for yourself. Keep in mind, when I do this setup, I'm manually focusing that, and I'm coming back here and I'm trying to set everything up. So hopefully it looks good, and hopefully it's in focus. But from when I was up there, and I generally just focus like on the back of this chair, when I was up there and I was focusing this, I could see with my own eyes on my monitor that this is way sharper. So if you have any qualms, any reservations about getting the Sirui, you're thinking maybe it won't be sharp enough, I'm gonna tell you now, it's a really sharp lens. So here it is, and I'm back, and this is now the Sirui 50mm at f1.8. And I had to throw an ND on there, so forgive me that. The focus at f1.8, in this setup at least, it seems razor thin. So for me personally, I don't imagine I'm going to be shooting at f1.8 in the studio. I think, because I do sometimes move, and you might notice I think I go a bit out of focus. I mean, there's not a lot, it's not very forgiving at f1.8, so your subject will have to be pretty damn still. I'm not liking that so much, but that's the characteristics of very shallow depth of field. I think very shallow depth of field is better suited to either A, a stationary subject, or B, something that is autofocus. And I don't just mean autofocus like Panasonic's flavor. I mean something that's more like Canon, Sony level autofocus. If you're doing that, then you can shoot f1.8. Hell, you can even get away with f1.2 or even lower. But for my use, this is a bit extreme. I think it's a bit much. So I'm gonna switch this up. I have returned, and here's the flashlight test. And you can see that I'm looking at it on the monitor. And you can see that you do definitely have those anamorphic flares that creep into the picture. I don't think they look overwhelming, but I've got to say I'm fully okay with that, because I hate when people just cheese up their video with too much anamorphic, and just like, it's like, hey, I spent the money, I got an anamorphic lens. You're here, you can check it out because I'm shining lights into it. I don't like that, but it's nice to know you can do it, and that for me it's best when it just happens organically, like you're filming on the street and a car goes by and you just by chance catch that anamorphic lens flare. But some people really milk that to death. So that's my review. I guess it's just a quick little review, because I'm basically held here in captivity like everyone else. Is it a win? Yes, I think it is. I'll catch you next time.